Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension here in beautiful Hernando County, and we got a whole bunch of people joining us today. We have, let's see, going around the circle here, Colby Pitts, who is our current Hernando County Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator. Good morning, Colby.
Good morning.
And we have Bernard, who is one of our master gardeners, the guy with an answer to every question. And if he's not really sure, he'll still have an answer for it, I guess. So good morning, Bernie. How you doing?
Yeah, answers are free. Good answers are a little more. So
Okay. And we have a super secret guest, Lily Browning, who is our previous Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator, coming to us from Armstrong County, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where in Pennsylvania that is. I guess the west part.
Well, yes, we are about 26 miles northeast of Pittsburgh. You've heard of Butler. Butler's been in the news. Where I'm sitting right now in Katanning is probably pretty even with Butler, like 12 miles or so.
Okay, well, Lily is now a master gardener coordinator up there in Pennsylvania.
I am.
We have like a national program now for all your questions.
Yes. Got any snowbirding kind of questions or anything? Maybe we can help. Armstrong is a small county. It's about geographically the size of Hernando. It could take an hour to go from one side to the other. But population-wise, we only have about 80,000 people. And I think you're getting close to 200, aren't you? Yeah.
I don't know where we are.
I think we may be 200 plus now.
Really? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so my master gardener, I have, 35 people overall. And, that's on paper. So Bill knows how that is. So, a good amount of Bernies who do a lot of good work. And they help me tremendously because I'm back in kindergarten here learning the actual horticulture. So that's kind of why I took the job, so I can suck up their knowledge just like I do with Bernie or Bill or, and anything any of your gardeners know. That's what I did working at Extension, just absorbed it all. And that's what I'm doing again. And so it is very, very exciting. I love it. I saw the job on Facebook, at Armstrong County Extension's Facebook page, and they wanted a part-time master gardener coordinator, 24 hours, and said what they wanted out of it. And I'm like, that's my job. That's my job. And so I applied, and somebody on this block of people here was a reference and actually got called. And I guess he didn't say bad things about me. So
I spoke to your boss.
Yes. As well as Dr. Strickland. And my boss is from Kentucky, so she really liked Dr. Strickland being from Georgia. And
although the accent,
and there he is. I hear it.
Fight each other. So
I'm sorry.
The accents start to fight each other when you mix the southern Georgia with the Kentucky.
Yeah,
they're similar, but they're different.
Yeah, it's like Whitney and Pasco and Stacy when they start talking. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, so here I am. I'm in my office here in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania, and I'm going on 3 months. I've been doing this. We've had a plant sale. We've had a redbud tree giveaway. We can still do redbud trees here.
Yeah.
And pollinator day last week, which I was not able to be at because of a family wedding, but it had been planned, and they knew I wasn't going to be there, but I was heavily involved in the planning. Coming up, we have, this will sound odd to your ears, the fair in August.
No, up north, that's normal time. So
yeah, and Master Gardener training's coming up too. That'll be my first time, coordinating that. I'm going to take it and coordinate it. So And I was kind of panicky about that at first until I realized the way it works here with Penn State is it's online. Penn State does it all. What I am doing is, getting the people in my county who want to take it and literally coordinating their efforts to take it, grading their tests. I don't know how that's going to work when I can have to take the test and have the answer key. But anyway, for everybody else, and, so, and I do have to coordinate 4 in-person, like hands-on days.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be from October through March. So, oh, and our book, I showed it to Bill. Bernie, I'll have to send you a picture. I have it at home, so I don't have one here. It's a hardcover, beautiful Master Gardener manual, the most beautiful Master Gardener manual I've ever seen.
Well, our manual is really nice. It's nothing but all the printouts stapled together. So,
yes.
And it's $100 if you get, I think $100 or $150. 3 volumes, and you can get it all offline for free. It's kind of an amazing thing when you really think about it. All the problems that you have are really the same as the problems we have here. They just look a little different, and they have different names. But in
different
effect,
timing.
You have bugs. They're little different bugs. You have funguses, little different funguses. But in Florida, you go 50 miles and things start to change. You've gone 900 miles, and I imagine the differences are really dramatic. I was from Indiana, with farm country, and of course, basically we had all of the farm problems. People didn't worry about the lawn things very much, because you go buy a box of seed and you just throw it out and you got another lawn. But the farms always had problems. So you get the best of everything. You get to learn all the new names and what everything looks like. So you already have the framework. I can see where it's just a lot of memorization. And
right.
I remember when you were
principles
going to college
are the same.
and you were doing all the memorization. 20 years ago, that was a lot of fun. And
it was.
Bernie
really and I went to college together. I paid for it and took the
Yes,
classes. Then I gave him the books and the papers, and he studied them. So, see, we have a symbiotic relationship of sharing knowledge back and forth. You can actually they allow you to purchase the Pennsylvania Master Gardener book, even if you're not taking the class. It's $75 if you just want the book, or if you want it and the class and the commitment, it's $250 is what ours.
Well, UF has a book also, but our Master Gardeners looked through it and didn't want it because it's too expensive. It's $60 or so now. And somebody brought in and dropped off with Teresa copies of old Master Gardener manuals that probably predate you. They look pretty darn old.
The only manuals I ever saw are what Bernie's talking about, and they were in binders. Yeah.
Yeah, it was for Central Florida.
Okay. No.
Master Gardener training for Central Florida, and it's at least 2 binders.
Yeah.
A lot of information. But now,
I didn't even know that these existed. There is. That's the manual, and this
2000. That's when I started.
Weren't around very long. When 20 years ago they had a loose leaf notebook. This is all the stuff that would have been in a loose leaf notebook, bound up, and there's 3 volumes to it. So
that is when Jim Mall started, and I don't think he used it. Klaus before him probably used it, but I don't remember Jim using that book. And he started November of '99, so his first class would have been 2000 that summer. So maybe it was.
But back then, those books were $5, maybe $10.
Yeah.
Now they're a lot more.
They were always expensive. The loose leaf book, I think, was $75. I got it. I also got the one from Arizona, which covered a lot of things, since they have basically the same kind of climate except without the humidity. It was very, very interesting how many things were the same. And because of the humidity difference, it was amazing how many things are totally different. So people just don't comprehend that little subtle things are going to change that much. 10 degrees change in temperature changes the plant communities. 2 or 3 feet in elevation in Florida starts to change the plant community. So
well, 2 or
when you
3 feet in
have,
elevation change is every step here. So,
yeah,
we have a niece who's spending the summer with us. She's an adult, but she's special needs. And I was just driving with her. I'm already just absent-mindedly driving. And finally I just said to her, "What are you giggling about?" She was just giggling. And she said, "The roads are like roller coasters." She's not wrong. It's something I have learned is we have just as many, maybe more, might just seem that way because I'm in it right now, at least just as many invasive plants as Florida does. Just, different kinds. There is.
We have new ones every day.
Yeah, we have Japanese knotweed is a very bad one that's usually along the water. Of course, English ivy, multiflora rose. Oh, that is awful. Just woods and woods of. It reminds me of Sleeping Beauty, where the evil queen puts up, rose bushes all around the castle so the prince can't get there. That's what this multiflora rose is like.
That sounds pretty.
It is pretty.
It's like lantanas here. They're pretty, and butterflies land on the flowers.
I'm about in August. No, not in August. In September, I'm going to provide the continuing education for my master gardeners, and it's going to be a remake of. Bill's very familiar with Seductive Invaders. Subtitle, but they're pretty. So we have the same time. Oh, what is the name of it? I just lost it. It's trying to get this phone away. It's like in the hibiscus family, but it's up here. What is it called, Bernie?
Okra.
No, big bushes. My sister has a bunch of them. I can't.
Hibiscus. You have a lot of hibiscus that grow way up.
It's in the hibiscus family. It's a mallow. It's
Rose of Sharon.
Rose of Sharon.
Oh, beautiful plant.
Beautiful. They're pretty invasive too. And of course, my sister didn't believe me until the neighbor said, your Rose of Sharons are like growing all over my yard, all over these seedlings. Then suddenly she admitted, these are pretty invasive. But for the same reason many people choose those type of things, they make nice, good-sized small trees and easy to plant and easy to grow and easy to make a nice fence out of them eventually around her yard. And,
Yeah, people like those invasives because they grow so reliably.
Yep, exactly.
The trees all grow really fast. What's a fast-growing tree?
Yeah.
And then they pick an invasive one because they grow fast.
And we have here an invasive tree called Tree of Heaven. And it, aside from it being an invasive tree,
little bugs on them.
It is the favorite host of the spotted lanternfly. I haven't seen one yet. Our area has not been as bad as Pittsburgh's. It was just awful. You couldn't take a step on the sidewalk without smashing some. But the spotted lanternfly, Bill's always been very interested in those. You don't have those yet. They came from New Jersey, Philadelphia, over here. There are nurseries that, big box store nurseries or whatever, that I saw them all over the plants. Well, I wasn't going to be the one to introduce them to my area, so I didn't buy any plants there. But since then, I have seen a couple, really just a couple in my yard. But my niece in Pittsburgh, she can't even enjoy her back deck because they do have a secretion. What's the word?
Oh, honeydew.
Honeydew. Yes.
Insect
And yes, and it just gets everywhere, and then of course the ants to follow that. But now that they've been here enough years, the birds have figured out they can't eat them. So I think it's kind of self-regulating. They're never going to be away for good. But
they are not in Florida yet. I'm checking an article from just a month ago with a list of all the different states where they are, and Pennsylvania is definitely one.
Oh yes.
And Virginia, and
Yeah.
Florida is not on the list yet, but we're always kind of on the lookout for them, keeping our eyes open.
I'll get one. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. We get show and tell today.
Yes. Here we go. I have so many of these.
Okay.
This is what they look like. I have something even better than these spotted lanternfly crowns.
They're very colorful.
I have
spotted,
tick crowns too. Yes, they are gorgeous, aren't they? I have tick crowns too. I have yet to work up the desire to hand out ticks to put on kids' heads or anybody else's. But we have tick crowns as well. There was an accidental order. I have signs, corrugated signs talking about lanternflies. We could get from Penn State stuff. And one of the admin people accidentally ordered me 50 signs. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those.
Put them all over town, I guess.
Yes.
What kind of ticks do you have?
Deer ticks. I mean, they
You
Lyme
don't have
disease.
Lone Stars like we do you?
I don't know exactly, Bernie. I don't. Yeah, but I do know they cause Lyme disease. I'll have to get back to you and study that. And I do know they're attracted to me, and I have pulled off plenty. So, of course, I won't stay out of the woods, in the weeds and where they like to be.
Yeah, if you're out.
They got Lone Star ticks in the Northeast.
We got Lone Star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all up in like the whole Great Lakes region, all the way to the coast, all the way out as far west, probably Texas. I'd imagine.
Yes, well, we have deer ticks, which cause Lyme disease, and plenty of deer. That's another screw up of mankind, believe it or not. Amazing, huh? When I was a child and lived in Pittsburgh, we saw deer out here when we came to visit, not in the city. Now they're all over the city too. Cemeteries, they love those, and yards. But from what I have learned, because I also became a master naturalist, in around 1900, there were no deer. They hunted them all down to nothing. There were also no trees. They took all those to build the whole industrial, and it's interesting when you look at pictures from then, and you think I'm going to look at an old picture from over 100 years ago and see more trees. That is not the case in Pennsylvania. You see no trees, and we are very tree filled now, but everything every bit of forest looking land is 100 years old. That's it. Because we took all the trees away to do all the building and do all the coal mining and all the house building and all the steel mill making, all of it. Glass was a thing before steel. This area did glass as well. And so around 1900, they realized, hey, there's no more deer. So they, brought some in and then made these very, very strict hunting laws, which they have yet to alter. But then, then take away their predators, because the predators of deer are the predators of livestock.
Yeah, mountain lions and all the larger
wolves. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have bears, but not as plentiful as they were. More plentiful than Florida, but I mean, you're not shocked if you see a bear when you're driving like you would be in Florida, but deer are the number one killer of humans, the number one animal killer of humans.
Yeah, you don't want to hit
in
one with
vehicle crashes. They're
you're
not running
recording
around with
here.
Uzis shooting us, but and it's just a shame because they're everywhere. But there's going to be this problem cycling around because the invasive trees that take hold are the ones the deer don't eat. Barberry, Japanese barberries all over our woods. Deer don't like to eat it. So eventually there's going to be a problem where there's nothing left because the invasive plants that the deer don't like to eat are going to be all that's left. And they have nothing to eat. And it's just going to be a vicious cycle.
Then you'll just have to go outside and feed the deer. Take a little bowl of deer chow. You're gonna make
deer chow. My tulips work pretty well for the deer chow.
Here in Florida, I know that people have problems with deer in their gardens, and they have a really, really wide palate. I mean, they'll eat darn near anything. They love hibiscus. Hibiscus is probably their favorite. And the one they really don't eat is azaleas.
Okay.
So azaleas are safe. Hibiscus are going to be gone.
Yes.
And everything else kind of falls in between. If they're hungry.
I don't know why they don't eat the Rose of Sharon around here, because to me it's very much, it's in that mallow family. It's the same family, but.
And I've seen citrus trees damaged by deer, and everything from chest high or so down, no leaves. You look, what the heck happened to that citrus tree? Deer got to it. So they ate up as high as they could eat and then couldn't eat anything higher.
Citrus tree would be good. Yeah. All parts of the citrus tree taste pretty citrusy, so they would be pretty good. Yeah.
So guys, we actually have a question here. And for everybody else here with us live, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the comments. Basem asks, what is the best time to plant pigeon peas from seeds? I believe pigeon peas are a warm season vegetable. They grow in the heat of summer. So I would think now. Although I've never grown
them. They grow with the sweet potatoes and the okra.
I think so.
They'll grow them through the summer. I think you're planting those in spring. There were some folks back in Sumter County that was one of the summer things they did. So they were planting them, I don't know, late spring, early summer. And
what are pigeon peas? What are pigeon peas?
Legumes.
Well, I know that. I figured that. I mean, they're not black-eyed peas, are they?
No. No. Pigeon peas fall under southern peas. So they are in the pea and bean family, but they're more tropical. So right now is a great time to plant seeds for crowder peas, cream peas, black-eyed peas. We all know what they are. That's a southern vegetable. And pigeon peas. Pigeon peas with rice is a very popular dish in Latin and Caribbean cuisine. I know pigeon peas are very, very popular in Puerto Rico also.
Yeah.
So yes, they are.
All those hot places.
Plant them now.
We, the past week, have had weather up in the high 90s. I'm not happy with it. We had a wedding on Saturday.
Talking about this book earlier. This was from 2000, and it was belonged to somebody that took the Master Gardener class. And one of their notes from the year 2000 is Hernando County has never had a frost after March 15th. When I took the class 5 years after that, they were still telling us Hernando County had never had a frost after March 15th.
We didn't until like 5 years ago.
And now we've had frosts up into April. So
yeah, like April 3rd or 8th is now the cutoff date.
Yeah, a number of years ago, the weekend of April 1st, a really bad cold front blew through and very windy, did a lot of wind damage, and completely wiped out my spring vegetable garden. Froze the beans, and I had like leftover tomatoes, I guess, from during the winter. This is over in Volusia County, so It happens, and that was April 1st.
Let me tell you what you guys.
Some winters we get one little frost. If you cover stuff, you're fine, and that's it. So,
what you guys are missing, for those of you in Florida, you frustrated with your sandy soil. Let me tell you a story. We had our wedding on Saturday, my granddaughter's wedding. It was on a farm. It had rained for like 2 weeks straight. And then even the night before, did not rain at the wedding, but it rained the night before. There was so much mud. I mean, your whole foot would disappear in the mud. I went through like 3 pairs of shoes before I gave up and just stopped wearing shoes at the reception. The chairs were this deep in the mud. I officiated, so I walked down first, but thank God they gave me my 2 grandsons to escort me down because I'm trying to be in heels on a carpet in mud. They pretty much held me up. Where we actually stood was pretty good. It was just a field, but so those, pining for up here, just remember the mud. So, which you're not as likely to have very much of in Florida.
Well, I know you guys, we get a lot of winter squash and pumpkins from Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania is close to number 1 for pumpkins. Like you and Ohio, maybe over to Michigan.
Yeah.
Pumpkins
I'm going to be
really
going
Florida.
in a few weeks, and I'm going to my first conference up at State College. So, and I know that whole way is just going to be farms and farms and farms, and probably a couple Amish buggies and see all that growing. Right now is the corn. The corn's around here. It's always been around here. I'm sure it's feed corn or, for other uses, but it is pretty darn close to knee high, Bernie. So it'll be knee high by July.
By the 4th. Yeah.
Yes. All those rules, that you hear about that don't pertain to Florida, I'm back where they do. But when I would teach down there in Florida, and I would tell all the newcomers, forget everything you ever knew. I'm having to teach myself that now. But as Bernie said, you use the framework and you just build new stuff on it. And there's things
you just have to adjust the timing. And
people are talking about picking strawberries right now. It blows my mind every time. I'm like, how can you be? They were way done in March. Nope, they're ready now. So, and with it raining so much and then it probably hit 100 in some places. So these poor plants don't know what to do.
Oh, you were under a heat dome.
It's by next week, it'll be normal, just like high of 82 or something. But Bernie, I think of you every time where I walk out our back door here, a field of clover. We also have a field of wildflowers. Hardly any bee. I could walk barefoot through that clover, Bernie, and that's very concerning. Everyone is asking, where are the bees? So there's 4 bumblebees you see out there in this big old field of wildflowers. It's a big concern of everybody's. So kind of why we had our pollinator day as well, to raise awareness.
It's really an interesting state. I've flown over it in small airplanes, so I was at fairly low altitudes, and the western part of the state is pretty much different from the central part of the state.
Absolutely,
it's just like night and day, the way the terrain changes, and I would imagine that if you really understand what's going on in the western part of the state, it's like Florida. If you know what's great in Florida and the southern part of the state, you probably couldn't grow anything here. Well, I think you're probably in the same position there. If you can do it in the western part of the state, you probably can't do it in the central part of the state. And the eastern part of the state is, that's kind of a depressing area. Why would you want to do anything over there?
A little too crowded for me.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty close to Maryland. I don't know if I'd want to be there.
And
Yeah,
we have a
like Florida.
question.
Huh?
I said, we have a question.
Oh, good.
And I just looked this one up.
Rhodolaria.
Asked, can he grow Crotalaria pallida and use it as a green manure? That is an invasive. And I have had Crotalaria, a common name for it is rattlebox.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
it up in my flower bed the last house we lived in, and it got waist high. It got really large, waist high, big yellow flowers on it. I'm kind of looking at it like, oh my gosh, what is that? It is pretty, has big yellow flowers on it, and it sets a seed pod with seeds in it that rattle. So it's like a baby's rattle. You can take it, shake it, and rattle, 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 rattle. That's why they call it
And
rattlebox.
prolifically spread.
Yes, but it is invasive, so we would not. So University of Florida says Crotalaria pallida smooth rattlebox is a non-native landscape weed with high potential invasive status. Pretty yellow flowers. I got to give it that much. But sun hemp, which is a very common green manure or cover crop, is a different species of Crotalaria. So that is fine. And you can freely purchase seeds for sun hemp. You can get them online. The invasive Crotalaria, I don't know if you can find seeds for that. I wouldn't think that they would sell it at a store. You know, if you
Colby
go on
says no.
eBay, you can find darn near anything. You can get air potato vine on eBay. I
Oh,
looked before.
Rattlebox gets passed around quite a bit, and you know that's one of those things that if you know somebody that uh, thinks that they're doing the right thing with uh, uh,
that was
all
in
these
our
exotic plants.
presentation.
That's
Yes.
one I have had 2 or 3 people over the years that
Mhm.
have offered me rattlebox seeds.
That was
That's
in
fine. You
our
really don't want to let it. Once it hits flower, it's time it's got to go. So
Yeah.
that was in Bill and I's presentation of seductive invasives. Beware of the friendly neighbor. Beware of,
Here I
you
have this
know,
plant, and
this.
here I saved some nice, big, easy to grow seeds for you.
Yes, you can't kill
oh,
this.
you can't
You
go
know.
wrong with this. It
Yeah.
absolutely, even though you've got a black thumb of death, you'll be able to grow these, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole
Beware of the
neighborhood
friendly
will
neighbor.
take
Beware
care
of the
of
friendly mother. You know how much Boston fern I had in my yard because my mother brought it to me.
I used to like
Yeah.
Rattlebox when I worked at Swiftmud because it was so easy to see. So you see it, you know, it's like, yeah, I see these bright yellow flowers. Oh, sure, yep, spraying that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had a whole lot of it. It was really common when you'd have a property that was backed up to any type of residential development because people like things that look nice.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they didn't have it on their property anymore, you'd see it, 10, 20 yards off the fence line. And, anything with seed pods, anything that might be attractive to different animals, whether they be small mammals, birds, and such, you can bet that that's getting spread pretty readily and easily.
Well, here, I mean, I do the same thing here. I did it on the way here. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, these orange lilies that are everywhere, these tiger lilies. Apparently they're invasive on the invasive species as well, but I do
Oh,
the same thing
no.
thinking, oh, they are so pretty. Yeah.
We had them when I was a kid in the backyard, and they're orange with black stripes, and they get really
Mm-hmm.
tall. Well, I was
Yes. Mm-hmm.
smaller back then, but they got quite
Yeah.
tall.
No, they're like 3.5 feet tall at least. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe taller.
oh, that's a
Yeah.
shame. They're pretty.
Yes. Everything, probably wasn't invasive when you were a child because, that was many, many, many years ago.
Mhm.
Since then,
But
they,
even here, you can go out to Weeki Wachee and you go down a street, and there's houses on one side of the street, and it's all just wetlands and woods on the other side. At the edge of the wetlands and wooded areas, you see all these things that people pulled out of their yard, all
sure.
uh, the purple shields and the somewhat invasive ground
Mexican petunia.
petunia and everything else just invasive, and you could tell that they just weeded it, pulled it up, walked across the street, and dumped it at the edge of the woods, and you could see it
Absolutely.
kind of spreading.
Lantana. Yep. 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 There was a
Lantana is really hard to get rid of because all your neighbors love it. So as fast as you get rid of it on your property, it's back and it just grows and grows and it really is pretty. It's a darn shame that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so hateful, but uh, you know, I've got an old orange grove, and when I first moved there, I had maybe one lantana plant, and it wasn't hard to get rid of. But all my neighbors have got lantana, and I've got it. I can't ever get ahead of it anymore.
right, and it's poisonous to livestock.
I ended up. I tried everything. I had a pretty big lantana bush on the side of my house, and not only do I just not want invasive lantana, but I also it was in a really inconvenient spot. It was you have the little pad that's off the garage. People put their trash can next to it. It grew right up on where my trash can was. I tried everything. I dumped kitchen grease on it. I tried everything. I ended up having to nuke it with imazapyr. So there was just a sandy spot there because nothing would grow. But that's really you have to kind of go nuclear to get rid of a lot of those invasive species. It's kind of why they're invasive because they're really resistant to a lot of the things that would typically get rid of a typical plant species.
And then they do funky things.
I have one around a palm tree that's turned into a fairly sturdy bush, and I just cut it down, and it grows back, and it just keeps coming back. I had another little one.
That was inside the palm tree, and I showed it
Yeah.
to you about 6
No, but
years ago, Bill.
I have one on the ground. I have one in the ground that keeps coming back. The one growing in the palm tree that was deposited there by a bird, I pulled out, and it did not come back.
Okay.
So
All right.
that one's just a
Pulled it
memory.
out and shook it on the ground. That's why you have one on the ground now. Our Japanese knotweed, I have read, is actually two invasives that have hybridized together. So it's like they're having their own bio world out there, just doing their own thing. The Japanese knotweed loses its leaves and freezes back, and that's when, oh look, there's a river right there. But it comes back, every year. It got down to below zero. It didn't care. It still came back great this year. But I read there's a gentleman. We need to find more people like this who is trying to make paper and stuff out of the leaves. We can find useful things for these invasives. That's why I like the lionfish, because my favorite thing to do with invasives is to eat it out of being invasive. But
yeah, we were going to do that, weren't we? We were going to have lionfish on the grill out back one day for one of our episodes. And we were going to get and learn how to grill iguana. But apparently, and you can buy it online, mail order. It's real expensive. It's like 20, 30
Really
bucks a pound.
expensive.
I ain't going to pay that much for a stupid iguana. They are invasive, and all we got to do is just go on a road trip down to Miami and bring back a bunch, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed
probably
that,
shouldn't put them in your car. People have learned that. They thought they were frozen.
You've got to comment up on planting something for the bees.
Yep. Ann says, plant something for the bees, and her daughter just got married as well. Congratulations. And
probably just as hot there as here.
One of the things you'd never anticipate being fantastic for bees is Podocarpus tree.
Really?
Podocarpus.
There's nothing on a Podocarpus to me that would attract a bee.
You would be amazed. You go look at one, and there'll be 2,000 bees in one tree. It's amazing. You don't notice the flowers, but they end up with the berries. A good friend of mine planted a barricade all around their property, put up 330 Podocarpus.
Wow.
Which always had a lot of bees, but they had lots of berries. And the interesting thing was they had this really nice train layout in the backyard. It's called Garden Railroad setup. And the bears would come down and eat the berries off the Podocarpus, and then they'd go over and sit on the train network stuff, and they were breaking down the tunnels and so forth. And the mother had a couple of cubs, and it was just They finally got tired of the bears and ended up selling the place. But uh, Photocarpus definitely attracts a lot of bees. Firebush attracts a lot
Firebush
of
is
bees. That's
fantastic.
And
Yes.
hummingbirds. I saw one on mine just this past weekend.
And sulfur butterflies love
Mhm.
lots of
firebush.
butterflies seem to like the firebush. So there's
Mhm.
a couple of good plants that people might not consider that really ought to think about. They do wonderful things for the uh, wildlife in your area.
And firebush are easy. They are, and they're not invasive. They are very easy to grow. They'll freeze to the ground and come back,
We
and they're fantastic. Now it's very hard. You have to work very hard to make sure if you want native to get the native. But the non-native version I don't find particularly harmful. The native is going to attract more pollinators though, and then some of them have hybridized, so it's hard to tell.
A lot of those things have hybridized so much that it kind of doesn't make a big difference.
Right.
Um, we had a question about dune sunflower.
Yeah.
Apparently, in Florida, there's the
Yeah.
eastern variety of dune sunflower, the western Florida side of dune sunflower, and the panhandle one. And
Yes.
apparently, they've hybridized so much
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell the difference between them, and it really doesn't make any difference. It's not like one's good, one's invasive, one grows well, the other one doesn't. And same thing
Yeah,
with
we went through that.
Gaillardia. Is it native? Is it not native?
Gaillardia is not native, but it's a great flower.
Yeah. Since it's only been here for, I don't know, what, 500 years, and these beers for 1,000.
Yes.
If you go back far enough, what is native? When the continents have shifted, you go back, what, 10,000, 100,000, million years?
Yeah, evolution will change things and animals will bring things when they move. But the difference is when humans came along and then we move faster than evolution. Boats, trains, planes, automobiles, we move around faster than a prehistoric sloth would have walked across the country. Therefore, we spread these things so much faster and from so much further, and we are way faster than evolution, and that's what messes things up. The biggest invasive species of all is what messes things up. And here we are.
Yep, we do a fantastic job of moving stuff all over the world in record time now. Good morning, Veronica. Glad you found us. We have not been on here for the last couple weeks because I know I've been busy. I know Colby's been busy. I know Bernie's always busy, but I think Bernie's missed being on here.
I think Bernie has too. Next time you two want to disappear, Bernie and I can handle it.
Sure, let me know.
Yeah,
I think I have one more spot for an admin. I can put you in. You can crank it up, and you guys can go for it.
I just picture Bernie sitting there so sad with, that he doesn't get to talk to us on
Yeah.
on Thursday mornings.
By the way, Native Plant Society defines Florida native plants as anything that was growing here at the time of Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Columbus. I thought it was Ponce de Leon.
No, it's anything that was here at the time of the European supposed discovery. So
I think
like
as a
400
general
years.
rule, about 1,500-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
I learned something this
1496,
week.
I think is the date.
I learned something this week because I went to the Carnegie Museum of Natural History, and they have a dinosaur display, and I saw they put, and I mean they're fake, of course, but sago-looking plants. I knew that cycads were the first plants. Then I'm looking, there's magnolias. So I looked that up, and they developed before bees.
Wow.
Which is why they are pollinated by beetles. Different beetles have taken over a job. It was an extinct beetle that pollinated them, which gives them their particular, like, the beetle gets the structures that act as stamen shut the beetle in overnight. And then it comes back out and it's covered in pollen to go, pollinate something else in the morning. But those cones, are an effect of them being as old as they are. So that was all very fascinating to me, something I did not know. So when Bill asked me to be part of the National Master Gardener Facebook page, asked me to post something about flowers every Saturday. My first one is already set up to pop up on Saturday, and I found a Smithsonian Institute article explaining that whole thing about magnolias. So, see, there's always something new to learn.
I didn't know that. But I
Yeah.
know there are a number of plants that require non-bee pollinators, like European figs. They depend on native microscopic little wasps that crawl in the
Mm-hmm.
end of the fig and they move around and pollinate and then they die in the fig. So when you eat a fig over in Europe, you're actually eating the wasp that died somewhere in the middle of it too. But they're not here in the US, so we have different varieties of figs here that don't require that. And there are some tropical fruits down in South Florida that would normally require specific species of beetles to pollinate them. And sometimes similar beetles are available near the groves, and other times not so much. They have to go around and hand pollinate them. But they're tricky about, with some things, the male flowers open first, the female flowers open the next day. The beetles spend the night in one, they spend the night in the other, and it's just a
Yeah.
whole. It's nowhere near as simple as the flower opens and a bee lands on it a few times and goes to another flower, and that's easy. Not
Mm-hmm.
all plants do it that easy.
Oh, you know what we can grow here, Bernie? But people always ask you that they want to grow there. Lavender.
Yeah.
And apples, you guys have lots of apples up there.
Yep, we have apples. We just replaced the building that I'm sitting in is new. The old building was here. We have always apparently leased from the conservation district. They've owned our area, and we roommate with them. And the old building, which was really old, it had served multi-purposes, was taken down, and apparently they moved downtown by the courthouse for a few years. And before I started, came back to this new building. So, and it's on a hill like everything is. So a bunch of fill dirt brought in, a bunch of clay. So one of the trees they planted didn't make it. A red bud actually didn't make it, and we found out it drowned, just stuck in wet clay. So we brought in new soil to plant. They decided on a crabapple, and I was consulted. I'm like, ornamental, right? Because all I could imagine was crab apples and rats all over the place, but it is ornamental. And it was just planted Tuesday, so we'll see how it's going to do. But they brought in better soil, built a pretty big hole for it and put nice topsoil in there. So whereas your problem is too much sand, ours is too wet, too much clay, too much. We were digging it here, planting new plants. And I mean, I could hold it like this and it would just stay. It was Play-Doh, wet Play-Doh. So it's either one extreme or the other.
Yeah, we have some clay in Florida, and especially here in Hernando County in certain areas, but not nearly as much as they do as parts of up north.
Yeah. When I said we could make pottery out of it, one of the master gardeners popped up. She was a high school art teacher. Mm-hmm. And she said, yes, you can, but you have to dry it out first and pulverize it. But yes, that's really all you have to do. And yeah, they made pottery out of just the dirt they dug up right out of their
great way to
yards.
save money.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little clay, but it's usually about 2 feet down. So
Yeah.
you dig down 2 feet, and then it becomes impossible to go any farther. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah,
kind
well,
of
you're getting more towards the center of the state too.
yeah.
But people in Florida don't realize that, there's good points and bad points to everything out there in the environment and the soil. People might complain about the sand, but I tell you what, you get a tropical storm, you get 20 inches of rain in 24 hours.
Absolutely. You're
You
thankful for
know,
that sand.
after it stops raining, 10 minutes later, my yard is dry. Up north, you guys will have storms and you get like what, 2, 3 inches of rain and major flooding.
Mm-hmm.
Houses are washed away. So good and bad with everything.
We need a little more than 2 inches for houses to be washed away. But yeah, we are having. Yeah, Bill checks on me every time he hears on the news this flood or that flood, and it's kind of almost like
Tornadoes
Florida.
in western Pennsylvania. It makes you
Yeah,
think
it's
about
kind of like Florida though. There may have been a tornado 5 miles away, but nothing happened at my house.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
And going back to Alessandra's question here, today was an event on our Facebook page because when I set it up, it goes on there automatically. So
yeah, need to do it more in advance. That's what she's saying. You've abandoned
I can
people
really
for a
only
while.
schedule it
See?
1 week in advance.
Yeah, you've abandoned people.
Technically, I could do it further in advance. If I schedule multiple events of this in advance, everybody's going to go to the wrong one. So I
That's
never have
true.
more than one.
That is very true.
So the best way to follow what we have coming up and what Thursdays we're going to be on here for this is to be sure to follow us on Facebook. Our short name is Hernando EXT. So be sure to go on there and like our page and follow our page. And if you look under events, every time we have a virtual plant clinic or class or an event or Earth Day or whatever it might be scheduled, it's going to be on there under events. And
so Colby, what we don't have here is the ability to purchase ready-made rain barrels, hundreds of them in advance, because we're just an extension office. We're not a utility with beautiful grants and things. And actually the Penn State department that handles rain barrels in general is Master Watershed Steward program, which is very much like Master Gardeners. And I'm that too. I took that training too. That one was fairly easy because the principles were Florida friendly landscaping in Pennsylvania drag. And but different concerns about different waterways, rivers, streams. Abandoned mine drainage is the biggest. And salt. Winter salt. And that's how I'm going to get my volunteer hours as a master watershed steward is checking salt levels. And the river near my house doesn't get much love and attention. It filters, it's the Kiskiminitis, and it filters into the Allegheny. The Allegheny, the Ohio, the Monongahela, they get all the love. So I'm going to be paying attention to one that feeds into those. But I miss having rain barrels that, readily at hand. We have to do the old-fashioned finding the feed barrels and building them kind of thing.
Pickle barrel.
Yes, the pickle barrel. Usually it was a pepper barrel.
Here we got a question for Bernie here from Lori Ernest.
Hi, Lori.
She says, good to see you, Lily. She has a brown turkey fig in a large pot. She only has one fig on it this year. So far, year ain't over yet. Do they prefer to be planted in the ground or in the sand? Also, are the figs heavy feeders? Also, sometimes the leaves will turn yellow and fall off. Is that from too much or too little water? What do you think?
Okay. The brown turkey does great in the soil unless you have nematodes. if you have a nematode problem at all, the fig plant will grow for the first year, not get any taller the second year, and decline from that point on. It will never produce figs. I mean, it's either it goes great in the soil or absolutely will not survive, doesn't do well. I've tried figs dozens of times. I have a real high nematode loading because I'm an old citrus farm, old citrus grove. So the only problem with brown turkey, um, if if you do have a nematode problem, it ain't going to do you any good to put it in the soil. Uh, you need a reasonable amount of soil. 20-gallon pail is a reasonable amount of soil for a fig plant. Don't let it get higher than about 5 feet. Fertilize it reasonably well, and use. I think citrus fertilizer would be the recommendation. And the plant should have a year of really nice growth, and the next year start really producing figs.
So take it out of the ground and put it in a container is what you're saying.
I'm saying putting it in a large container.
Yeah.
They don't really like to be root bound. They don't do all that well. But brown turkey is a good producer here. So that's probably the recommendation. But if you have nematodes, you can't put them in the soil. The figs don't do well in the soil.
You know where I've seen them do well in your area? Hernando Beach or west of 19. And I think because the pH is so high that the nematodes can't live in it. You know, like right on the Weeki Wachee River, places like that. I've seen them do well. And I've heard it recommended. I don't know if it's going to do anything. Bernie's idea is much better about putting it in soil you can control. But I've heard put it as close to your house as possible. If your house is cement block, which most are there, because it will leach, you know, and raise the pH. And the nematodes don't like it.
Yeah, I know figs do really well up in the Panhandle. So just a little bit north of here, they get huge. I've seen pictures, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's covered with figs also. But figs can do well here in Central Florida.
If you're going to use a soil, use Jungle Grow. I really like Jungle Grow soil, but the problem with Jungle Grow is it has almost no peat, which means that it has no water retention capability. You need to make sure that you water it adequately because it drains extremely well. You know, a lot of this potting mix stuff has a real high percentage of peat, which is great unless it dries out. And once it dries out, you can't rewater. You can't rewater.
I hate peat.
It's very, very difficult. So yes. Jungle Grow is more of a composted pine mix and does extremely well. It's a great potting soil. The only problem with it is that probably requires water at a more frequent interval than stuff you're used to.
Peat is too unforgiving for me.
Yes,
but in recent years, every brand of potting soil I've gotten, including Jungle Grow, this stuff's twiggy, real twiggy. Mm-hmm. I mean, like they're throwing tree branches in it now. So it seems like the quality used to be better. Just personal opinion. If you ask Teresa, she mentioned she's noticed it also. So,
well, I think that more people are using it, and that you know it takes a certain amount of time to develop the compost that we like. You know that's if you live in Hernando County, the obvious answer is go to the landfill and get the free compost.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is nothing better to grow plants than compost.
You're so lucky you have that. Just the landfill in general. We don't have anything like that here. You have to, you know, the public is not really welcome. I don't even know where the landfill would be. And I have brush piles in my yard I'm trying to figure out what to do with, because basically I would have to pay someone to take it away for me. I could take it to a relative who's allowed to burn, but it's full of poison ivy and I have no desire to kill my relatives. So just have these brush piles, which is, the Florida friendly thing to do is have brush piles. So now I got all kind of invasive stuff trying to grow through them though.
Might not hurt if contact your local waste management people and find out if there are any composters in your area, or if there's any free compost that your county is doing, or low priced. You can't beat compost. It has the organic material. It has the soil-like composition. It has the microbes you need. Everything that it takes for a plant to grow is there. It's a great kickstart for just about any kind of plant, and it's easy to work with. And true compost is a nice, clean product. There's nothing bad that you're going to say about it. So that's the place to start. If you can get a lot of compost, you can get a lot of mileage out of it. If you're planting a garden and you've got nothing but sandy soil, the best amendment you can possibly put in the sandy soil is compost.
Absolutely. Yep.
We got a question here for Colby, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, his head pops up. Bill has a problem with his rain barrel. He says it's clogged with something. Can't really see what's going on because it's full, because it's been raining some. Should I have been treating the water with anything?
I think it's probably a mechanical plug of pine needles or something. What do you think, Colby?
Yeah, I mean, if that water is not like algae infested and it looks gross, then it's probably having to do with the inside of your actual, like your hose bib. It's probably in there. So if you can take like a drain snake, open it up, a small drain snake, open it up and stick it in there to unclog. As for treatments, like I said, unless you're having some kind of like algae or something like that, I really wouldn't. I wouldn't think you should be treating the water. I know a lot of people. I know that when I was a kid, back in Sumter County with the cows, we throw like coils of copper wire into the cow trough to keep algae from growing. But if you don't see algae, then it's probably not. That's a pretty obvious problem to have, I would say.
And
I would say just snake your hose bib.
And you're supposed to clean it out at least once a year. Mm-hmm. And this time of year, if you can get it emptied, if you can get most of it through the bib and then physically dump the rest, do a good cleaning, scrubbing with elbow grease. You have plenty of time to fill that rain barrel back up this year. One good summer rain will fill it back up. So
I got some people backed up. I really need to.
Oh wow, Bernie's so popular.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to back out, guys. So
we're going to wrap it up in just a moment here, anyway. Right. So
good to see you, Bernie.
Pleasure. Thank you.
He's the busy one. The volunteer's the busy one. He has his fan club.
Yeah, my schedule's pretty clear for the rest of the day. So, and if anybody else has any last-minute questions you want to slip in real quick, please go ahead and do so. Other than that, you guys are all very, very welcome. I will be around next week, so we'll be doing this again next Thursday. Nobody says anything.
I will not be here.
Okay.
Little brother's bachelor party, so I'm gonna be out of town.
Oh, Tijuana, huh?
Jupiter, you're close.
Jupiter. By the way, congratulations on your marriage. I don't know if I ever got to tell you that, Colby.
No, well, thank you so much. It's a dream.
Yeah, it's over. The wedding is over. Yes. Yes. Now you can do the actual marriage thing. Yeah. I will have to look at my calendar.
In Spring Hill and keeping the lantanas cut back and all the domestic responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll see what I'm doing next Thursday. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But maybe I can be here. So.
Okay.
And I
Well,
might fix my name for you too.
Like, okay. Oh, super. That's fine. Super secret. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. So at least I will be here next week. I'm not sure exactly who I'm going to be here with. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here live.
Thank you for inviting me back to Florida
Oh,
from
thank
my
you.
chair in Pennsylvania. Isn't technology grand?
Bring your Pennsylvania lawn and garden questions back, and Lily can help you out with them.
I'm going to share this on my page, so we might start getting
That's good. You should.
Pennsylvania questions too. We're going to be, north
And a lot
and
of people
south.
watch these things, the recorded version, and they come back and make comments and ask questions and everything, and that's great too. So,
right. Yep.
Okay, well, thanks again, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day, but someone will be back here again next week to help answer all your lawn and garden questions. So, thank you so much for joining us. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day. See you, Colby.